Tell me honestly. How do I look to you? Do I look good? I look healthy?
Yeah, I was going to say today you look
pretty good.
Yeah,
you know why? Good. I did a lot of stuff. You want to know what I did?
No. What'd you do?
I did a lot of stuff. First of all, the right side of my what passes as a hairline is receding faster than the left side. So with a little mascara, I fill it in. I fill it in so it's even. I'm not fooling anybody. I just want it to be even.
Otherwise,
I look like a puppy, out the window.
I dye my whole head.
Right. I colored into sideburns.
Did you really?
A little bit.
Did you?
My eyebrows are disappearing. If they make minoxidil for eyebrows, someone please let me know.
This is sad.
And I pencil in a little bit of eyebrow, and with a little mascara, the same one from the head, did a little touch up on the beard and the mustache. Then there was the tanning bay, and then there was the Popeyes chicken.
You know something? Now I'm depressed.
Because I'm only good on the outside. The inside is rotting. I'm like, the inside of me is the picture of Dorian Gray. You know what I'm saying?
These are my eyebrows, not colored. This is my beard, not colored. The hair's touched up. The hair's touched up, but this is real. This is a real color. You do your eyebrows are just.
I have no eyebrows. They're disappearing. They're falling out.
You know what? As we get older, more stuff's going to happen, and that's what today's episode is about.
Really? No, really? Really? No, really? Really?
There's actually a growing number of biotech companies and billionaires with cash to spare. They're investing.
Of course, there's cash to spare.
In research. Well, in
millionaires and billionaires.
In research.
Boy, are we going to start with redundancy? All right, go ahead.
Can I get through this?
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said a word. It's just that
They're fascinated in reversing aging and preventing aging and the aging process. So even Amazon founder Jeff Bezos. Who you played.
Bezos, yeah.
Has Altos Labs, and it's kind of a mysterious thing where they're pursuing biological reprogramming. And the guy that they have on the directors they worked at the National Cancer Institute. So you got a lot of credible people. We have in studio a guy that's been getting so much attention in press. His name is Bryan Johnson, who is either a centimillionaire or a billionaire. I've seen it in different ways. Who has more than 30 doctors and experts monitoring every bodily function. Led by, and this is bizarre, 29-year-old regenerative medicine physician named Oliver Zollman. I have questions about that because my pants that I'm wearing right now are older than 29. So, and Bryan, again, headlines out there, and we know we're in a clickbait world. The headlines say he wants to have the brain, heart, lungs, liver, kidneys, tendons, teeth, skin, hair, bladder, penis, and rectum of an 18-year-old.
Was anything left out in that list, by the way? That he doesn't care about?
I think that's pretty much it.
Okay.
Chelsea Handler recently mocked him. It's easy to mock him. And I got to tell you, when he sat down, we just met him, I said to him, we're not here to make fun. We're here to find out.
Right.
And he said, I'm good with whatever, which already, because I know that it's such an easy thing to attack somebody who wants to rejuvenate. And that somebody's doing it to this level. So first of all, welcome. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
And some doctor said that you look sickly and you look pale and you look bad. You actually look pretty good. You look very healthy, and you have good skin color.
And I mean, this is going to sound like a joke, but I don't mean it as a joke. You're the male equivalent of Bernadette Peters. Now, I don't know how old Bernadette is. I know she's probably a little bit older than me. But Bernadette has this amazing skin because I don't think she's ever seen sunlight. I don't think she's ever in the sun, and she has this porcelain, beautiful skin, and that's what I see when I look at you as well. Good skin, but I also know that you're under special lights sometimes in the bay that I saw on a video.
So first off, the headlines, though they accurately, because today's world, and even in the science community, they have to exaggerate stuff to get funding, to get attention, to break through. So everything is clickbait. Are the headlines accurate? Is that how would you portray what you're trying to do from your perspective?
Yeah, the headlines are all true.
Ah, there you go.
They get it right.
They get it right.
Yeah.
You want to rejuvenate. You want to stop aging.
That's right.
And you want the rectum of a 29-year-old.
That's right.
Okay.
I would take a 41-year-old at this point.
Rectum. Old rectums get cancer.
There you go. By the way, do you have a picture? Do you have the rectum, the kidney, and everything? Do you have pictures of what you aspire to be? Like when you're going for a haircut when you were a kid, they have all the models up.
Yeah.
Do you know?
I took 33,000 images of my intestinal tract, of my bowels.
You swallowed the camera, right? Right.
So, does that make me a narcissist? If 33,000 pictures?
Only if they're all up in your bedroom.
So, okay, can we start at the beginning, Bryan?
Just above my bed.
Well, Bryan, let me just ask, because we're fortunate enough to have you in studio. Do you mind telling us what your biological age is versus your engineered age?
Yeah. Chronologically, I'm 46.
Uh-huh.
And biologically, I'm hundreds of different ages. So for example, my left ear is 64. My heart is 37. My diaphragm is 18. My cardiovascular capacity is on par with an elite 18-year-old. So I'm hundreds of different ages. You look at my pancreas and my liver, and that's the cool thing about these measurements is you can probe all 70 plus organs of the body and biological systems and find a scientifically valid biological age.
Now, just to ping off of that for a second, does that create any kind of disconnect within your functionality? The fact that you have like a left ear that's 64 and a right ear that's 11. I mean, does that make anything crazy or challenging?
I mean, like when my son, my boys are 20 and 18. My 18-year-old does almost all the tests I do, and so when we have a professional hearing grade system at the house. And when he does the test, he's got perfect hearing across all the frequencies you would expect. You do mine, and from 4,000 hertz to 12,000 hertz, I'm basically deaf in my left ear from shooting guns as a kid. I grew up, we had a lot of guns, and so I was right-handed. I had a gun aimed like this, so my left ear would get exposed. And so I'm basically deaf in that frequency range. So I can hear okay, but just in certain ranges. And what's fun about this project is, when I go about doing a certain test, like you take the heart, you can break the heart out into 10 different ages. And so it's just fun. Where am I at? And then we get to play this really, really fun game. How do we reverse that age?
So let's give context to this. If you can, do a brief, here's how I grew up in Utah, doing the mission, et cetera, and how you made your money and how you got to here. If you can give just a brief insight on what got us here to this program, to your blueprint.
I was born in a deeply religious rural community, and I served a mission in Ecuador, and where I was there among extreme poverty. And it just was a life-changing experience to go from this middle-class U.S. life to poverty, dirt floors, mud hats. And I came home to the U.S., and the only thing I cared about doing was something that would help all of humanity. Like, it didn't make sense to me to spend my life trying to make money for the sake. And I really wanted to do something important for other people. And so I determined at 21 I'd make a whole bunch of money. By age of 30, I'd find out what I'd do. And that was just my orientation. It was like, because really, I wasn't good at anything. I thought, okay,
yeah, but
I'm
me
21.
too. But it didn't happen. The money didn't. I'm still waiting. So you must have been. Did you excel at something to figure out how to get there? Were you a techie? How did you make the money?
I had no skill sets of note. I just thought, I looked at what I was good at, and it was like nothing came up. And I thought, I'll become an entrepreneur, because to be an entrepreneur, you basically just need to be resourceful and be tenacious. And like ultimately, if you push long enough, you may find it. And that's what happened with me. Is ultimately I did make it in selling my company. And then there was this question.
What was the company? Tell everybody what you got into that made you the money.
I built a payments company, Braintree Venmo. So when you take a ride in Uber and they process a credit card, that's doing that. When you pay someone via Venmo, so it's basically moving money around.
And you were sitting at home in your underwear one day and
stupid.
said, I need to come up with this thing. Were you a coder? Do you have skill set in that area?
I was building another company. I had a baby. I couldn't pay my bills. I had a whole bunch of debt. And the only job that I could find, I applied to 60 jobs. Nobody would even interview me. The only job I could get was selling credit card processing door to door. Like, if you could fog a mirror, you could work for the company.
Okay.
So then I became the company's #1 salesperson. I broke all their sales records.
How? Because?
I figured out the system. Like, basically the deal was, if you're a business owner and you're processing credit cards, you hate credit card processing because everyone's dishonest. You can't read your bill. It's terribly complex, and service sucks. And so I'd walk in and they'd see me, they're like, all right, this guy's not a customer. He's here to sell me something. I don't like you already. Like, please leave.
Right.
So I'd hold up a $100 bill and I'd say, I will give you $100 for 3 minutes of your time if you don't like what I'm offering. And they'd be like, all right, that's interesting. So I'd sit down and I'd say, like, here's the game. Like, here's who the players are. Here's what they do. Here's how they take advantage of you. Here's what I'm going to do. Like, it's no different than anyone else. I'm the same as everybody. You're just going to get transparency, good support, and just forget about it. And then, also your 3 neighbors are using me. And it was just this really basic conversation of, you can trust me because I'm going to do something that's in your best interest, and we'll build a good relationship.
That, by the way, is a skill. So you may not
That's
have
pretty
known how to
amazing.
quantify it when you were younger.
And that company you built and sold for how much?
So I did that for a year, and then at the end of the year, I was like, this is actually, like, I was doing that to fund my other startup. And then after a year, I thought, this is interesting. This is an opportunity, and I started Braintree and started billing payments. And then we process payments for Uber, Airbnb, GitHub, like this. this generation of companies that are now very large.
Right.
Shopify, we grew up with them, and so it was fun to grow alongside them. And then we acquired Venmo, and then PayPal bought the combined entity for $800 million in cash.
Wow.
Good night, drive safely. Wow. So at that point, you're netting out hundreds of millions of dollars. You're how old?
34.
And you go, okay, I did it. So now am I going to do humanity, or did you have to build one more thing?
I mean, I was in a pretty big hole in life. I mean, I had been depressed for 10 years, chronically depressed, where I would just lay in bed and just wish I didn't exist, but I had 3 kids. And so, I mean, it's the worst thing imaginable of existence. And I was leaving my born into religion. I was in a challenging relationship. And so once I sold Braintree in 1 year, sold the company, we ended a 13-year marriage, left the religion, and then overcame my depression. And it was just this window of time to try to remake myself and say, if I really have freedom to move about. And so my life up to that point had been everything I couldn't do. And now this moment arrived at everything I could do. And so my orientation became, where can I go in existence?
That huge transition that you just described of severing some relationships and starting anew, were you guided with anybody with that, or was that all self-motivated, self-discovered?
Self-motivated, self-discovered.
Wow.
I mean, at this point, I had grown up in this structure where I trusted authorities. I had trusted people older than me. I had trusted institutions. And at that point, I didn't trust anyone.
You just kind of cavalierly went, and I got over my depression. Is that with the help of therapy? Is that with the help of drugs? Is it with the help of both? How do you just get over the depression?
The solution was not what I expected. So while I was depressed, I tried everything. You name it, I tried it. And then once I ended that relationship, once I left the religion and that environment, it just disappeared. And so it was really symptoms of my circumstances more than anything else. And so the solution was making significant life changes.
Wow.
So then how long did it take before you decided, I'm going to be this guinea pig and I'm going to co-opt somebody, and I don't want to find out how you got, like I said, this doctor to be the somebody, because apparently you're not a dumb guy. You did the research to find out people who would not hurt you with their ideology and what they thought you should do. How did you get to that, to starting this company and being on this regiment that you're on?
I started holding dinners around the country. I would get together some of my closest friends. I'd have them invite their most capable friends, and I would pose this question at the beginning of the dinner. I'd say, imagine we're in 2050 and we are thrilled with the existence we've created. We can't believe how remarkable life is. What did we do in the year 2017 that made 2050 extraordinary? And I would just listen, and then I'd ask questions like why and why and why. And I tried to basically survey the minds of a few hundred people of what's in the zeitgeist now. And then I wanted to ask the question, what's missing? Like, what is the thing that is right in front of our face, but no one can see? If that's true, maybe it's already seen, and maybe it's just going after the thing that people already know. But I wondered, I've primarily gained my education in life through reading biographies. And when you look back in time and read about the 15th century or 16th century, we look back and we're like, oh, of course it's obvious that you would discover germs and that they were the source of infection and death. And of course you would discover penicillin. But at the time, of course, you can't see those things. They're invisible. And so the thing I've always aspired, I guess I've always admired the most in people is those in their time and place who can peel away all the layers of their time and place and say, what is it right now that would be valued in the 25th century?
You're a guy who just said, prefaced by, I wanted to change the world. Is it narcissistic, or are you looking to change the world?
Yeah, so I'll add a little twist on the thought experiment. This is not about self-discipline. It's not about self-help. This is about an observation. So let's imagine in this thought experiment, we're in the 25th century. And whoever exists then, they're talking amongst themselves, and they say, it's extraordinary what happened in the 21st century, that humans figured out something that allowed intelligent existence to continue in this part of the galaxy. What did we do? Us, right now. And the primary thing we did at Blueprint, which is interesting, is I said, my mind, I had this experience where in the evening at 7 p.m., this version of me, Evening Bryan, would come out, and he's a monster. Okay, that's not entirely true. He would he would be saddled with all of the burdens of life, the stresses of the fires at work, the fights with the partner, the kids are hanging on the legs, like you're trying to bathe them and put them to bed. And the only thing Evening Bryan wanted was relief from the pain. Mm-hmm. And he would then think, those damn brownies, right? The whole tin is there in the kitchen. And it was the only thing he could do to try to offset the pain he felt in life. And so for every night, for years, Evening Bryan would show up and eat something. And I tried everything I could to stop him. I never could. It was just overwhelming. And one day I said, out of, like almost tongue in cheek, Evening Bryan, you make my life miserable, you're fired. And I felt this relief. And so I said, okay, this is fun. I'm going to play with this. From 5 p.m. to 10 p.m., the version of Bryan that runs me does not have authority to eat food. No matter what, he cannot eat food. He's not responsible. He makes morning Bryan hate life. He makes, dad Bryan a bad dad. And so then I started building this idea, and it developed into this concept where we built an algorithm using machine intelligence that takes better care of me than I can myself. I basically said, my mind is not qualified to run me. My mind is going to eat bad food. It's going to eat junk food. It's going to overeat. It's going to do all these terrible things. And we have these algorithms that do a much better job at many things than we can ourselves. So why wouldn't I have an algorithm run me? And so then we started measuring. I became the most measured person in human history. With all the data, we looked at the scientific evidence, and we built an algorithm. And then my only thing I had to say yes to was yes to operate the algorithm. And so that's what I think the 25th century would say, is they'd say humans figured out their default cognition ran them into trouble, and that algorithms were actually much better and made them happier and more prosperous and more successful than they ever could be themselves.
So to that, I have a WTF, a quote from you that ties right into that I'd love you to address, which is that humans, to be able to survive in an AI algorithm future, may need to sacrifice part of what makes them human in the first place. So that may mean relationship, that may mean happiness from children, that may mean whatever those things are that we get joy from that have been measured, living near nature, friendships, whatever. Are you willing to give up those things to live a longer life?
And is that what you meant? Is that what you were referring to?
Yeah. I'm trying to make the observation that if you look at the speed of progress in artificial intelligence, it is very clear that it is on pace to become better at us at everything. It's even going to be better at being us than we are.
Because it has so much input about results and payouts, et cetera, that a human being could never in a lifetime accumulate. So from a medical standpoint, should I have surgery on my kidney, input what you have, and it can go through 8 million surgeries instead of your doctor who's done 60 of them.
Exactly. Eventually, it's just going to get better at all these things. And so in this situation, we humans presuppose that we are sitting here with a preference option set where we say, we want to keep this and we like that. We'll maybe do away with that thing. We are no longer alpha on this planet. That's done. The thing that humans need to do is to say, we want to exist, and we're willing to divorce ourselves from every notion, idea, custom, norm, tradition we've ever had as a species. It's the most radical revolution in the history of Homo sapiens, and it's happening right now. Now, we may look out at the streets and say, I don't see it. People are still driving around. They're still buying. They're going to the store. It's here. It's already happened. We're just catching up to where it's gone. So from your
perspective, you're sitting there in bemusement going, I don't understand why everybody doesn't get this already, kind of.
Entirely.
I can see that in your eyes, that you don't think what you're doing is that radical. What you're doing is saying, no, I'm just going by what experts, quote, AI, is telling me is a better outcome for here. Why wouldn't I choose that? So before we go any further, though, if I may, can you just go through for everybody what your day is? Because everybody's heard, by the way, the jetpack on your penis to measure the erection.
I'm sorry, I haven't heard that. Oh, the
erection detection.
Yes, I didn't realize it was a jetpack.
And by the way, if I may,
when I hear jetpack, he's flying.
No, he's
by
not
his
flying.
Penis.
His penis is taken off with a no. But the penis thing is supposed to measure how many nighttime erections, and you can tell a younger man. But if your testosterone levels are okay and your circulation's okay, do you really need the measuring unit down there?
Yeah, I mean, what have men always wanted to do but a dick measuring contest?
I've never had to do that, by the way.
Yeah. And so like, nighttime erections are a meaningful measurement that represents cardiovascular health, psychological health, sexual health, and overall health.
So tell people, because I bet most people don't know, what's the average number of erections somebody at 46 would have?
About what I have now. So I'm about my chronological age. So my nighttime erection average is 2 hours and 12 minutes.
So all the pills and everything.
Constant?
No, it's
No, you wouldn't be able to roll over, idiot. You'd be
It's like a kickstand.
every time you go to turn over, you'd be going, what am I doing?
Yeah, I can't get over.
Exactly.
I mean, you remember like, when you're like 10, 12, 13 years old, right? You're hard all the time. You're walking in between classes and all of a sudden you get erect and you can do nothing about it.
Sure.
You've got to like hold your book over your pants because like you're worried about the bulge. And then as you age, you get fewer and fewer erections that are untimely, even in your sleep. And so, yeah, when you are primarily in your REM stages, you have erection episodes. And so if you look at the erection data, you'll become erect for a certain duration of time, 20, 30, 40, 50 minutes, become flaccid, erect again. So it goes through these cycles. And it's a really important measure for health, and people just aren't aware. That
So even with all your stuff, Brian's still 46-year-old down there.
So the goal is to be 3 hours and 30 minutes.
I love that you're going to score. Guys, we hit. I just want to call the team in here and just say pop some corks of something we can't drink, because last night my penis actually ended the Guinness record.
The only thing I'm noting, numbers-wise, during my sleep, also has to do with that area is how many trips to the toilet.
bathroom.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
as
what
many,
I'm noting.
as many times as he gets around.
3 hours worth of urination happens every night.
If Seinfeld was still on,
And I'm going for 3:30.
If the writers were still looking for stories, I could see George Costanza trying to reverse his biological age. Doing that. So, all right. So tell us your day is. I think you get up at like 4:30 or 5. Is that when it starts? And take us through the day of what you do.
Yeah, I go to bed at 8:30 every night. It's every single night. And I wake up about 5 a.m. I wake up naturally, and then I have a 4-hour routine. So I'll work out for an hour. I'll eat a few pounds of vegetables. I'll take 60 pills. I'll do about 10 different therapies. And this is all based upon what my team and I did is we looked at every single study ever done on lifespan and health span. We found the gold standard scientific evidence, and then we implemented it in my protocol. Because basically what we're trying to do is we're trying to say, if a person we're trying to find what science is capable of right now in 2023. One person, that's what we're trying to do. And so my day is populated with that. So the 4 hours is the routine, and then I'll work. I work on several companies throughout the day. I'll do several doctor's appointments during the week. I may go a few measurements done, MRI, ultrasound, and then the nighttime, a few more therapies, and then I'll be in bed by 8:30.
So what about relationships and friendship? I'm hesitant to just take everything I've read and say, this is it. That you got a questionnaire of 10 traits that if to date somebody, they have to check 10 boxes. Yeah. What are the traits, and is that accurate?
Yeah, I did. I shared on social media the 10 things I share on my first date.
Can we hear them or no?
Yeah, let me see if I can recall them from memory. But it was, I go to bed at 8:30. I eat dinner at 11:30 a.m. You sleep alone. No small talk. Really don't care.
I'm already falling in love with it. Yeah. People are swooning. You guys love it. No small talk.
Can I just say, I'd start with I sold my company for $800 million.
By the way, no small talk.
The first thing.
Done.
All of a sudden, I go, okay, I don't need small talk. I'm good. You go to bed. I
would respond if I'm a female. What do you consider small talk? So I don't do it accidentally.
The funny thing about this is, there's been certain waves. There was like a wave of publicity around me getting plasma infusions from my son.
Right.
Then there was another wave around the measuring the erections. The one more around this list of things. But I think I received more people slid into my DMs on this one, I think, than any other one.
And women, you found that person.
And females were kind of like, look, I want this too. Like, I'm so sick of playing this game. I don't want to do this stuff. Like, I'm annoyed by this. I just want to be like in this. So it's it was interesting that it felt liberating for people that that's what they wanted. They just didn't dare say it.
So your dream woman is, hey, Eleanor, no, Brian, I don't want to hear it right now. We talked too much yesterday. Shut up, eat your vegetables, and I'm going into the second bedroom.
Come on, finish your dinner. It's almost noon.
That's hilarious. So that's your day.
Yeah.
Let me jump in and ask you the pill stuff. Having a little bit of a background in science, and also having a lot of guests on with that. We don't know. I mean, and by the way, you get torn apart on the internet. The guy says he's going to get hit by a car at 50. It's going to DNA is going to. His parents may have had something that's going to end up killing the guy. And look, he's had no life and no fun and no whatever. And by the way, you don't look like you're suffering, like you're shut in and don't have a sense of humor or relate to people. So that's one thing. But my concern would be with 111 pills. Most of the pills we take, our brain goes, we got to get rid of it. It's foreign substance, especially if you try and get it into the blood-brain barrier. It wants out. So a lot of stuff.
Dr. Tilden with the dopamine and the blood-brain barrier.
The problem is,
ask the question.
The problem is with a lot of stuff. I'm giving context.
You're small talking him.
Can I tell you something?
Just get to the question.
Eat your vegetables and go to bed. This is why you're not.
He doesn't need your premise.
This is why,
ask the question.
This is why you're not from the learner.
Oh my God.
So the deal is with the body trying to get out foreign objects and the interrelation, like Jason said, if your one organ is not in sync with the other. 100 pills seems like, with supplements, they just want to piss it out. How do you know what these pills are doing, the interactions? And isn't your body just going, what the F are you doing
and
here?
I'm going to tag onto that. Are you relatively certain, like 5 years from now, if they're going to tell me my third cup of coffee every day is the one that kills you, that something you're doing or mixing, we don't know yet what ultimately the interaction might be. Is that a concern as well?
I mean, first, if I don't get hit by a bus and die, the universe is not true. Right? It is guaranteed.
Okay,
guaranteed.
We're on that page.
I will die if I get hit by a bus.
Right, of course.
Running to the pill store. Okay.
I mean, if my death is not just like the ultimate irony, like
it's like
There is
like
no
when Fabio got hit by the goose on the roller coaster.
Right,
It's that. I got it.
What's useful about what we're doing is I am the most measured human in history. And health and wellness is a lot like religion, where you typically have a charismatic founder with some compelling story, and then you tell compelling stories and people do these things. But when you can measure it, story doesn't matter. Data matters. And so with every supplement we take, we have a measured endpoint in my body. And so if the supplement is not doing what it's intended on doing, we discontinue it.
And how do you know, like in the dog food world, they measure in and out. You see what's in the poop to see if it was absorbed, how much it was absorbed. The same thing with you.
And in the blood.
Are you doing stool samples to see what was, how much, every day to see what was absorbed and what went through your body and how much of it was absorbed and how much is coming out the other end?
Yeah, stools like every quarter. But yeah, we generate thousands. We generate thousands of data points every quarter. And so this is the value. I mean, it's MRI, it's ultrasound, it's devices, it's fitness tests, it's blood, it's urine, it's...
So you can tell the efficacy of every single pill you're taking by how much is absorbed?
Yeah, if we can't track it, we don't do it.
Wow.
That's pretty amazing.
And this is the cool thing that we're trying to do is like when you get into these conversations, everyone is the expert. And even though, I'm only N of one, so there's some shortcomings, it's still better than story. And so I say this tongue in cheek, this protocol is the best protocol built in human history. Prove me wrong with your data.
Let me ask a question about that. Not to get into controversy, but Novo. That is a program not dissimilar in its intent from what you're doing. Mm-hmm. They have been a bit critical of your protocols, and they also claim that they're getting a better response.
Mm-hmm. I set up the Rejuvenation Olympics because when I started doing this, people were like, hey, you're a biohacker or you're like a health person, and none of the categories fit. I wanted to create a new category, so I started calling myself a professional rejuvenation athlete. Because you look at LeBron James, he goes to bed on time and eats his vegetables, and people are like, amazing. I start doing it, and people are like, this dude's fucking whack.
Right, yeah, right.
Well, what's wrong with him?
Yeah.
And so I had to change it to, so that people would change the frame. And so people can talk all they want, but I've made this thing public. It's been public for almost a year now. Anybody can post their data. You know who's absent from the list?
Novo?
Oh,
are they really? Are they really?
Yeah. I mean, so
do you share your data with other places that can look at it and analyze it?
Yes. Yeah,
Everybody-
exactly. Yeah,
got it.
it's public.
What's really interesting is George Church. Do you know who George Church is?
Yeah, he's a friend.
He's our buddy. He's our buddy.
Yeah,
We
he's
just
a
had
buddy
him
of
on.
ours.
Yeah.
We know
Believe it or
him.
not, these two morons just had him on.
Yeah.
But said what you're doing is really well intentioned, and there's not. He couldn't find that much wrong with it, and that you were well intentioned, which is kind of a big deal. I can't believe we know George Church, and he knows George Church. Name,
All right,
name drop.
But being back to this point though, like the thing is, I am actively helping people. I'm actively helping many beat me at my own metrics.
Well, that is one of the things I wanted to ask you. Is that part of your intended goal, is to leave behind a protocol, a technique, perhaps discoveries you make about certain supplements or drugs or whatever it may be,
Yeah.
or tests? Are you hoping that you will be able to give people a system to replicate these results?
Exactly. So I've spent millions on this. I've shared the entire thing for free. Everything.
And what
is
do you
free.
want the end result to be? Because I know on your site you're selling like the olive oil.
Yep.
2 things of olive oil for $75, whatever. Did you get into this? I mean, yes, you're spending $2 million of your own money, and I don't count other people's money. God bless you if you got hundreds of millions in the bank. But is the intention of building also a sustainable business out of this too on some
It
level?
never was. So I did this. I did Blueprint for 2 years. No one cared. Then an article was written in Bloomberg, and it just blew up. And then people said, I want in, but it's way too complicated. Like, it needs to be easy. I can't think about it. And so I've developed a product so people can do it. But it was never my intent to start a business. It was simply exploring this conversation of what is the 25th century going to say about our time and place? And it just naturally evolved to this. But no, I mean, I'm trying, I really sincerely am trying to get the human race to thrive. That's the only thing that matters to me. And so the rest of the stuff is like,
Doesn't matter.
It's just practical.
So
and
what
functional.
about this 29, really a 29-year-old? You couldn't find somebody like 35, 40? I know you're using AI, so he doesn't have to be that experienced. But 29? This is a guy, has he published a lot of course? You're not a stupid guy, you're a really smart guy. And I'm sure, and you're looking at all of this. How did you decide on this guy? Where did he come from?
Sorry, which guy?
Your doctor, you're the doctor.
Yeah. He is an entirely original thinker. And so again, when you read about history, you see people who challenge norms, who see the world differently, and they're not accepted by their peers because they're out there. And he had this approach and this thought process that in order to fully understand aging, you need to work at an organ level. It doesn't help to just generically assess it. You have to look at the heart and the lungs, the liver and the pancreas. And you have to be extremely granular about it. And you have to be methodical about how you structure the interventions. And he has an approach that treats the body like an engineer would.
And how did you come to him, or how did he come to you?
Mutual friends introduced us. They thought our brains would match.
And you got enough confidence in him, obviously.
Wait, did he have to fill out the check boxes?
No
Did you
small talk
share
with
the-
him either?
Yeah, no small talk, and
We get along beautifully well.
But that is amazing because you're trusting. How much of the program is he responsible for?
He's the primary architect. We have a team of 30 doctors, and we find doctors that specialize. Like we'll find a heart doctor, a lung doctor, a brain doctor, and so we'll find it according to organs, and then we just all work together in tandem.
So when you reach out to but you're in LA, there's some really good doctors here, like the top cardiologist.
Yeah.
How do you convince, do you walk in and say, so I got $100 for you. Let me sit down and give me 3 minutes. How do you convince that guy who's busy, who's doing a thing, who this may be novel to, who doesn't live in this world, may think it's crazy? How do you co-opt him to become part of this? Because you need him and he's credible.
It is so hard because when you engage with that person, they're entirely immersed in their world of patients, of insurance, of that protocol, of the office, of treating conditions. And so we require them to entirely shift their mindset. And sometimes that's easy for some, and other times it's very challenging. But it's a very different approach. And so we typically have to talk to quite a few people to find the right fit.
So you need a guy who's not only really credible, but a bit of a visionary, willing to step out of his box and go, oh, I see this. I don't necessarily agree. I don't know more. Let me know more.
Yeah, exactly. We take them really hard problems. Like we've knocked out a lot of easy problems. But you take something hard like how do you increase your max heart rate? So max heart rate's 220, and then for every year, it goes down. So if you're 40 years old, your max heart rate should be around 180. And so how do you increase max heart rate? It's a really hard problem. And if you go to a standard cardiologist, if you just assume they're great in their field, that's a very specialized area. So then you have to search academics, you have to search people building drugs. And so we go on these rabbit holes of trying to find really esoteric biotechnology to try to achieve the goals. And biotech is probably not the right word, but any therapy, any approach, molecules or devices or anything of the sort.
Wow.
Bryan, do you, I hope I'm not prying, but you seem to, you're pretty open about this stuff. Are you doing cosmetic changes as well?
Yeah, you can ask anything. I'm an open book.
But I mean, do you do like hair replacement or Botox or anything like that? And I'll tell you why I'm asking.
Yeah.
It's not because I'm interested in, you look very good. But if I were engaged with this, I guess part of what I would be curious about is if I do enough work on the inside, what would be the natural result on the outside? And if you're changing what is the natural result on the outside, I'd love to know what you're thinking on that.
Yeah. Because the goal is we're trying to achieve age 18 across the entire body. Now that's a pretty insane goal in 2023. Now, if you said that in 2030, maybe it's more doable. Right now, it's really far to reach. Now, we've achieved that goal in some areas, like my cardiovascular capacity, what's called my VO2 max. Like I compete with the top 1% of 18-year-olds in that capacity. And so for example, with facial things, like I would want to, we have this multispectral imaging device. If I want to put my son's face in there and my face in there, we'd want the data to say you're the same age.
Right.
And so how do you get that? And so you look at like red spots, browns, UV damage, pore size, all these different measurements. And then we tackle each one. But to answer your question directly, I've not had any cosmetic surgery. So what I have done with my face is I've injected fat into my face. So autologous fat. And so I don't have enough fat on my body to take my own fat and inject it into my face. So I took a donor's fat because I got pretty skinny. In the early stages, I was on a caloric restriction. I lost a ton of weight and a lot of volume left my face. And so when that happened, I had some laxity because you had the skin who now it's like there's more skin than there's volume. Right. So I had to rebuild the laxity of my skin. I put some fat back in and I used a biostimulator, Renuva, or Sculptra, which naturally produces collagen. Right. But we didn't do fillers. So we wanted to try to legitimately see if we could rebuild facial volume without reverting to fillers or try to correct facial imperfections with Botox. So,
Gotcha.
Which makes sense because all these people with the Ozempics and all these diabetes drugs that are taking it, they say it's Ozempic face because when they lose the weight, the whole face shrinks and kind of caves in. Have you? You're on medications though too. You do take medication. I know you take testosterone because you need to because of your diet depletes testosterone. What else are you taking? What other meds?
Yeah, I had this funny experience where I was running on a trail and I tripped and I cut my shin and I went into the emergency room, this local rural place, and the doctor has me on the table and he's going to stitch me up and he's like, "All right, son, before I get going, are you on any medications?" And I thought, oh no. I thought, I could say one or two things here. I could be like, no, let's just sew this thing up. Like, what the hell? I'll say something. I'm like, well, okay, I'm on Metformin. He said, the drug they give to people with diabetes? Yes. I'm on rapamycin. The drug they give for people with organ transplants? Yes. I'm on dasatinib. The leukemia drug? Yes. Good Lord, son, what's going on? And like those moments, it does remind me of how far out we are from where most people are at, like where you take a multivitamin and here I'm on the spectrum of taking all these wild drugs. So yeah, I mean, we are on, I think I'm on 6 or 7 prescription meds.
Let me ask you about, since you said metformin, and everything I've read, metformin seems to be somewhat of a miracle drug with reverse aging. The problem is, the reason they're not putting a ton of money into it is it's a generic, and nobody's going to make a gazillion dollars. Is that an accurate assessment?
I don't know enough about it. I've heard the same thing, but I don't know enough to say anything with confidence.
But you take it because?
We take it for a few reasons. One is for polyp control. Polyp prevention. In the bowel.
Wow. And how's that working out?
Yeah, I mean, my 33,000 images showed I have no polyps.
So that's not 33,000 colonoscopies, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
They didn't go in. How many times have you had a colonoscopy?
None.
None?
Yeah.
You just do the camera?
Yeah, I just did the pill. Yeah, it's a baby-sized carrot.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
And is that pretty accurate now?
It's very good. So basically, it's a less invasive way to then invite a colonoscopy if it's needed.
Because they can't do anything when they're in there already. It's kind of like what's the thing that delivered to your home, the stool thing that you drink. You don't have to drink. It's the
the prep.
Yeah, no. It's the other things you don't have to do that. Cologuard, I guess is the
No, Cologuard is a home stool sample.
Oh, that's the other thing. So you don't. But then they still have to go in if they find a polyp. So you're
right.
polyp free.
Polyp free.
God bless.
And when's the next
May I say?
When's the next time you have to do that?
Because if I was spending what you're spending and doing what you're doing, and I got a polyp, I'd be apoplectic.
Yeah.
It's a $2 million polyp.
Jesus Christ! What do I have to do?
Small talk. It was small talk. The polyp would have gone.
You said your son is a part of this.
Yeah.
Willingly, or I mean, did he get so fascinated by it? He said, "I'd like to start this now," or did it take some convincing coercion? Or
Yeah.
Well, you know what I should give Dad for his birthday? Yeah, that doesn't call it white blood plasma.
I mean, first to clarify, the media has reported that he lives in a cage that's
What?
that's 10 by 10. It's
You didn't send me that article.
I just spit out I hadn't read that, and I just spit out all my order. Okay.
Yeah, it's not 10 by 10. It's 8 by 8.
Okay, good. So the little lock, and you
don't
don't let them out.
spoil them when they're young. Let them
See, he does do comedy.
forward to
he
something.
does do comedy,
Yeah,
and he
I
does
got
do
it.
small
I got
talk.
it,
All right,
yeah.
so he's a willing advocate of yours and a willing participant, obviously.
I've found that he and his friends are more eager to accept this and do this than anyone my age. They don't have the resistance. You know, like you lay this out for them, and they're like, of course. Like, why wouldn't I do this? This makes total sense.
So how old is he now?
He's 18 now.
So he doesn't do the dad, you know what I mean?
So I have 3 kids, and my relationship with them has always been, you do you, I'll support you. But the relationship is, I will offer my perspective, and then they can choose what they want to do. Mm-hmm. And so that's been the case with all the kids. And so my oldest son does some part of Blueprint. My 18-year-old does full on. My 13-year-old daughter, she's 13-year-old, and she's got other
She hasn't
interests.
figured it out yet.
She's got other interests right now. Yeah.
But when you say he does full Blueprint, he's doing the exact protocol that you're doing? Mm-hmm. And I guess this is a question for you and then your perspective on him. You spend so many hours of your day living this regime that I think works really well for you. But if I were an 18-year-old guy and I wanted to go out into the world and travel and meet people and go to college and do it, it doesn't seem like the full spectrum of those choices are available to me and do this. Is that?
Yeah, when I say he's doing full Blueprint, at age 18, the amount of care he needs to do for his body is like 95% less than me.
Sure.
And so he doesn't need to do all the MRIs all the time and the ultrasounds and the therapies because he's just baseline. He's already good.
He's already got an 18-year-old rectum and erections. I mean, it's already there.
Yeah, but I mean, is he also doing the 8:30 bedtime?
He was, when he was with me during high school.
Yeah,
now he's at
and
college.
I guess that's what I'm talking about. Is that for a typical teenager college student?
Yeah.
That's a big gimme. Where is he on that part of the program?
Since he's been in school, he changed his bedtime to 10:30.
Wow.
And he's found several friends that actually have a similar routine. And so they all do their activities earlier in the evening, and then they don't go out later. And it's catching on. Like the zeitgeist is shifting away from this endlessly eating junk food and going to bed at the wee hours in the morning and drinking excessively. It's really moving. And so it's not like you get punished like you did before. And it's just been in the past 6 months. Like I cannot believe how fast this has moved.
What have you seen that you were surprised about as far as people writing to you or reaching out to you, where you maybe were a catalyst for them to say, you know what, something you said sparked an interest in me, so I cut this out or I'm doing this differently. I wanted you to know that. Do you get a lot of that?
I do. The most surprising thing, it works. And we set out on this question, like, can you actually reference scientific evidence, change your life, and does your body actually change? And the answer is yes. So you take a look at the top 20 accomplishments of this project, and you can nitpick and say, I don't like this measurement because of whatever, or that one because of whatever, but you can't argue 20 stacked where they all say the exact same thing. Mm-hmm. And that's what's so compelling is I've crossed this threshold where people look at this and think, you know what? That's pretty compelling. And so I cannot believe how fast this has moved. And there's been a major zeitgeist change for those around me. So I get letters every day. People, like, it's amazing. Life-changing stories. Like, I had this thing that I couldn't solve for decades. I implemented the routine. It's gone. It just vanished. And no doctor could diagnose it. No doctor could treat it. So it's really remarkable. And
well, you know what? I remember now. God, I wish I remembered the name of the movie. Our friend produced it, Tom Sherrick. It was like Sick, Fat, and Nearly Dead. What, an Australian guy, well, very wealthy, 60 pounds overweight, wanted to do a documentary over here about eating, why we eat so much. And he just started doing a liquid thing, not because he was going to sell it or whatever. He did, and he's interviewing people saying, you're going to knock off 10 years of your life. And they go, okay, yeah, and they're eating potatoes. And he ran across a truck driver. I don't know if you ever saw this movie. And the guy, his life was in the shitter. I mean, this guy was like 100 pounds overweight, had to park his truck right next to the diner, the all-night diner, to go in because he could hardly walk. His family was alienated from whatever. And this guy said, let me put you up in a resort, which is not a resort, like a little hillbilly place near some water. And for a month, just try drinking this stuff instead of eating, only because it'll change your deal. At the end of the movie, the guy had lost all the weight. And he's out there carrying eight bowling balls to this meeting to show people this is what he was carrying around, 8 bowling balls. And how his life had changed and the quality of life. And for a guy like that, and he was running. He was running in an XL T-shirt this guy gave him at the beginning and saying, I'm going to change your life, and saved the guy's life.
And he was miserable.
Well, that's the other part. But that's the other
He was the unhappiest man. When I missed the diner, I missed the truck.
Now he's a bowling ball salesman. For Brunswick, and he's on the tour, and he gained all the way back.
Let me ask your because we have to wrap up, but let me ask your I guess professional opinion. Peter is a couple of years older than I am. But sitting there looking at us, you've spent some time on this. Objectively, who's aging better?
Yeah.
I mean, if you had to say, I'm going to, the guy with the longevity is in chair A or chair B, what would you say?
And just remember, if you're coming back, I generally work with Laurie in the booking, but don't let that go.
The eyes are now an inferior technology to determine.
Well, he's a smart man. Smart man.
Yeah, like
he's gonna.
Well, I'll help him. Inside, I feel like I'm dying every minute, so it doesn't matter. My big thing is sleep.
Yeah.
My mind is. I'm always that kid who I try to do the Baba Ram Dass be here now. We haven't even talked about the spiritual part, but the torment for me. Yes, I cheat on foods, but I'm pretty good at that. Is playing out scenarios that haven't existed so I can punish myself. And somebody said to me once, you know what? I was going to be fired maybe from something. And he said, you may get fired at some point and you'll deal with it. You've dealt with it before. But you're firing yourself 5 times a night for 3 months. And that wears you. And I went, whoa, that was a big eye opener for me that you punish yourself. Yeah. On a psychological level, are you also that advanced, Mr. 111 pills? Or do you still go through that stuff and beat yourself? Because you've dealt with depression, you know what it is. A lot of that is projecting, and a lot of that is, am I letting my kids down? And a lot of it is judging yourself.
Yeah.
Where are you as far as health on the inside?
Yeah. I've never been happier in my entire life. I've never felt more steady, more stable. Like the world can hurl vitriol at me. It does nothing. Before I may have been triggered. I may have felt bad. I may have felt insecure. I cannot believe how stable I feel in life. I never thought it'd be achievable. And Jason, to your question before, like you said before, there's a 0% chance that you're going to change anything in your life, right? And I would submit this earnestly.
Yeah.
If the 25th century looks back, the singular revolution right now is don't die. After 4 billion years on this planet, we are baby steps away from superintelligence. Once superintelligence arrives, we do not know how long and how well we can live. We cannot see it. And for me, I want a ticket to the show. I don't want to miss out. It could be the most extraordinary existence in the entire galaxy. And we're right there. And we're plagued by a society that is addicted to addiction. Everyone's addicted to their thing. It's a cultural thing. It's going to pass. And we're going to walk into a new phase where we're going to seek human improvement. And so for anyone listening, I genuinely, earnestly, with everything I have, encourage you, realize the special moment we're in right now. Things are going to change very fast, very soon. We don't know what it's going to be. But man, I would hate to miss out on this show because it really could be extraordinary.
Well, you know, to that, we go out of our way on the show to not get into anything that is more divisive in the world. We explore things, but we try not to get into divisiveness. But I've actually said for some time that I think the reason that the world is at such a seemingly divisive place is because we haven't truly let go of the 20th century. The calendar changed and we all went, oh, it's just a calendar change.
Yeah.
The 21st century is almost unrecognizable from the 21st century. And I feel it's like this tear, this tension, and it is and I always say it's going to rip and it's going to become something else. But what we are all reacting to is that uncomfortableness of the tearing.
Well, and the other part of it,
I agree with you. I think it's going to be a fascinating, and it's coming. It's coming.
But
fast.
I also think it's going to be ugly because I think that the wealth, it could cause more division too, because everybody may not be entitled or have the opportunity to get the benefit of that. So that's going to have to be a big part of this too, that everybody feels the buy-in. Let's go to, can you stay with us, Guggenheim?
We go to Guggenheim and he brings up facts and things that we've missed.
Questions.
All kinds of wonderful. Do you have time? Can you sit?
Yes.
Yeah, well, number one is Lori has something that she wants to say to Pete.
Oh, Lori, yes?
I would like to
Yeah,
say
we got to get Lori on.
She's on.
shorter questions.
Yeah.
Oh, shut up, Lori.
Sure, right?
Yeah,
Shut up.
thank
Telling
you.
you.
Oh, my God.
Thank
I
you.
get
Oh,
shut
my
up, Lori.
God. Lori.
Hey, you know what, Lori? Better bookings. How about better bookings?
You're the booker, for God's
And you
sake.
shut up.
You're the guy
You
who's always
shut
telling me,
up.
I found
You
the best
shut
guy.
up. By the way,
I got
you
the
know what I
guy.
realized here? Everybody forgot the forgiveness episode. What else, Guggenheim?
Well, this is a corollary to what Lori was just saying. He was giving us the 10 things he does on the dates, and he got to like 3, Peter, before you cut him
So
off.
what are the other 7?
That's the other thing.
He didn't have the
Peter
other
is a
7.
cutter offer.
You know what? The forgiveness episode, burn it.
Let's
Burn
write
it.
down the 10
Burn
things
it.
you do
Burn
wrong.
it. Burn it. We also got a lot. Did we not get fascinating questions from me too, sir?
You did.
There you go. Thank you.
Don't pander, Brian.
Well, by the way, here we go. We're rushing late. What are the other 7,
now
Brian?
suddenly we're running late.
No. Brian doesn't like small talk, David. Let's get this moving.
Listen, I also want to know Brian's dating age. Like, do you do it
Oh.
for the ear or the vasculatory system? I
What do you
don't know.
claim you are?
Yeah. I also posted that on social media. I listed the 10 things I need in an ideal partner.
Yeah.
Yeah. And age was not one of them. Chronological age was not one.
So Jason's mother's in the running?
Yeah. It was basically like.
By the way, also not big on small talk. When she was alive, she's God rest her. She's no longer.
David, go ahead.
Yeah. Now, do we actually want Bernadette Peters' age? Because I have.
Yes.
No, we do not.
It's
That's
listed,
rude.
yes. Yeah.
No, it's not. We don't need. No.
All right.
I know Bernadette.
By the way, you know what I love?
I
know Bernadette.
I
She
know,
can't give
that's
her
why I'm
age.
asking.
Oh my God.
No.
73.
But I'll
Hold
tell
on,
you
no,
this.
You're right. 73. Okay.
I will tell you this. I mean,
2 more.
I know Bernadette's older than me, but I just saw her a month ago. Whatever she's doing, she may be doing what you're doing. She looks fantastic. And this is a gal who I can't get up 8 times a week anymore and sing on a Broadway stage. That is hard to do. And she's still got.
Can we get back to Guggenheim?
All right. Yeah, no, ask another question for
Mister, I don't want to give an age.
5 minutes.
You can Wikipedia. Everybody at home knows it already.
All
but
right,
you don't want to
not every guy.
Can't come out of your mouth.
All
Go
right,
ahead.
Go ahead.
Bernadette Peters, she actually has 4-hour erections every night.
Oh my God! Oh my God!
There we go.
Bernadette, I'm so sorry. I love you, baby.
Well, I was just going to, because obviously we're working ahead of science.
Lori, get the scissors. We're going to be making a little trim in this program.
Oh my God! How dare you? How dare you?
Don't touch that. David, Lori's giving the wrap up. Go and wrap.
No, that's fine.
No,
That's
go
fine.
and wrap.
We've
That's what I live with.
That's it. That was your contribution. Oh
I
my
had
God.
other things, but that's fine.
All
As long as I
right,
get my
fine.
Bernadette
Yeah, you know what? You
Peters,
did 8
You
hours.
know what? You know what I've learned today?
fine. What is
Life's too short.
No, you know what I learned today? 2050. If I'm still around, you're going to be going like this. What'd you learn?
Yeah, right.
What'd you
right.
learn?
Yeah,
Brian,
I
it was
feel
a
like
pleasure.
I'm dying. I feel like I'm dying. I need to get to the emergency.
Right.
Brian, pleasure, man.
Brian-
And by the way, for anybody who knocks you or whatever, you look great. You look really good in person. Your body fat is like 0 point what? Nothing, right?
It's pretty low.
You know what I'm going to say for I don't know. Most people listen to the podcast. They don't watch us. I'm going to tell you what I appreciate the most about you. You're a really cool guy. You've got a great attitude about this. You know, when people hear about it, when I first heard about it, I went, holy shamoly, this is going to be a wild, wacky, weird, crazy guy. You actually, you're really cool. You're just really cool. And your openness about this is really appreciated. And it's a fascinating journey. And I'm going to be following what you do and what you learn, and then
We'll have you back on
It's
as an
pretty,
update.
it's pretty cool.
Don't get hit by a bus.
10 years from now, if I'm unfortunate enough to still be doing this,
Oh, you know what?
let's check in.
I can take care of that now.
Oh, really?
Brian, thanks for
Yeah,
coming.
I'll come back. Well, I'll come back when I achieve the 3 hours and 30
He's gonna-
minutes. of erecting.
there
That
we
will
go.
be the erection
There we go.
celebration.
Can we be the judges? When we're officiating church, we'll sit there. He's at it. He's approaching it. He's there.
I know. Listen, if I told you, if I said to you,
I'm going to throw up my mouth.
no, I want to ask you a question. If I said to you, you have to do any 5 things that he does, change your bedtime, change your diet, if I said to you, you take 5 of the things he's doing, you got to do them religiously every day.
I could do that.
But I guarantee you will live another 10 years. Would you do it?
Depending on what they are, but you know what? I'm better regimented. Like I'm the kind of guy who will eat 3 rice cakes with a little bit of mustard and cheese. It's easier to do the same thing every day than to try and figure out what I got to shop, what I got to buy. That regiment is easier for me. Yeah. So yeah, honestly,
You would do it.
I would. Yeah.
All right. I'm going to tell you, not to make you jealous, but I'm going to give you some stats on the longest living, a couple longest living things. What age do you think the longest living verified woman, a woman named Jean Calment, how old was she at the end of her
101.
days? 101?
104.
Brian, you got a guess?
122.
122
Whoa.
and
Oh,
164 days. That is correct. How about the longest living verified man? I won't say it correctly. Jérôme Kimura.
Well, I probably knows 115. I don't know.
I think it's 117.
116 and 54 days. The longest living animal that is still alive.
My dog.
Well, that's not
18.
wrong. That's not wrong.
What is it?
I'll give you anything if you even know what kind of animal it is.
Is this one that's been around for 1,000 years? Like, isn't there a fish at the bottom? See,
No,
they just found it from.
no.
I'll say a tortoise.
You are correct. It is a giant tortoise who is 188 years
guess.
old.
Very good.
And there was a female giant tortoise who lived to 256 years old. Longest living tree. How old do you think the longest living tree in the world is? Take a guess.
Thousands of years. I mean,
Yes, you're right. Thousands of
Yeah.
years. You got how many?
5,000.
That is correct. 5,000 years. It is a Bristol cone pine, somewhere in England. The longest living working actor. He's no longer with us, but the oldest actor who was still working on film.
God, so long. I don't know. I
No,
don't.
his name was you'll know his name, Norman Lloyd.
Oh, yes.
And he was 101 when he did his last film. He died at the age of 106 about 2 years ago. And this is the last one. The longest still ongoing living podcast.
The Grandma Moses talk show. I don't know. What?
It is called Open Source with Christopher Lydon. Began in 2003. It focuses on arts, literature, and foreign affairs. It's been running for 20 years.
We got to get him on. Laurie, we got to get
20 years. And God bless us if 20 years from now, you and I are still here.
Best friends
I'll
doing this
kill
thing.
you. I'll kill Brian.
And then you can do
He
the
won't
mystery-
need a bus.
Then we do a mystery
I will-
podcast. Then you do
I'll
the
kill
mystery
every
podcast.
guest we've ever had. And then I kill myself.
Good night, everybody. and go with love. Yeah. Off that, a great message. Ryan,
Thanks,
thank you.
everybody.
Thank you. We'll have
Thanks,
you
Laurie.
back.
Thanks,
We'll have you
Brian.
back. Stay healthy.
Thank you, Mr. Guggenheim. And
Thank you, Laurie.
Announcer
And
number.
we're having a talk
Take it
later
away.
on because you never wrap him up. You just wrap me up because I wasn't on Seinfeld.